Victorious warriors win first, then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Those words are legendary. They come from The Art of War from Sun Tzu. Now, what do they mean? Because we're like, well, we're not in a war right now. Well, that war is another way for saying the game of life. And I'm going to share something with you that I don't share with many people because they're just not ready for it. But if you're listening to this and you're here, you're the type of person that does this some of the time. Very few people will do what I teach you all the time. And the reason for it is every thought matters. Every decision you make matters. Where you stand today is a reflection of all your thoughts and decisions and actions. That's the fact. And that's why if you do affirmations for 5 minutes in the morning, you feel better, but it doesn't change your life generally because you've had thousands of thoughts throughout the day. And you are the accumulative effect of all those thoughts, because those thoughts, what you focus on, how you carry yourself, the stories you tell and believe, determine how you feel. And the way you feel has a massive influence on your behavior, what you do and what you avoid. Keep this in mind. You are the creator of your circumstance. Most of our life, for the majority of people, don't just think about yourself, but think about people you know and things you observed. Most people, life happens to them. We all like to say the old phrase, life happens for me, not to me. But when something happens, how do we show up? Well, sometimes we show up one way, sometimes we show up the other way. And that's where the lion and lamb comes from. The lion is who you really are, who God made you to be. Love-based you. That's your soul, that's your spirit, that's your higher self. Or if you don't like those words, it's the best self, the best version of you. That's what we're talking about. And then the ego is the learned self. When we were children, we couldn't take care of ourselves. We couldn't get food. We couldn't change our own diaper. So we had to cry or be funny or be cute or do other things in order to survive. And that's why almost all of our belief system is formed by the age of 7. Because in those states, up to the age of 7, you're in a theta brainwave state. You're like a sponge. You're in a trance, basically. You learn so much. And a lot of it is unconscious. So most people act the way they act today based off of what happened then. And so they have unconsciously built their belief system. The belief system is the software of your mind. It's the lens which you view the world. So there was a woman that I met. She's a very, very loving, very faith-driven woman who was in a genocide in Africa. And I won't go into all the details. At some point I'll share this with you. But her neighbors had different religious beliefs than her. And so they decide one day that they need to kill all the other ones with machetes, not even guns. So people that would be your neighbors and friends now, because of this belief, went and murdered each other. And she hid, a very kind man, hid her and a bunch of other people in a closet that was kind of hidden in his process. Now, if they would have found them people, he would have died too. But he had different beliefs than the other people. And so beliefs are the lens which we view the world. They will make us do amazing things and they'll make us do crazy things. But if you are struggling to achieve any goal, it is because of some belief you have. Because the beliefs will affect what you think. Because beliefs are this, they're automatic thoughts. They're habitual thoughts. If this happens, then I do this. That's what a belief is. It's a rule. It's a command that you have that's subconscious. But we can change these things at any stage of life. Even a child can change them if they're aware of it. But adults can do it too. The body is always changed. The brain is always changing. 20 years ago, we didn't think that was true. It was taught in university. I learned in college that you couldn't change your brain. Your brain was the same way, and it just got worse over time as you age. We now know that's absolute horseshit. It's called neuroplasticity. But let's get back to what I'm going to teach you today. The way of the lion. I've been blessed to be surrounded by champions and really terrible people in my life. I mean, but when I say, the world is this amazing place where you have terrible humans that have just made the worst decisions. We could call them evil, but we also have saints. And we have amazing, loving people, then everything in between. How can we be our best in this type of environment? Well, that's the game of life. That's why we want to summon the lion, the lioness each day, and show up and look through the lens of love, not the lens of fear. Love is truth. Fear is an illusion. You might want to write that down, because that will change everything. When life gets tough, if you're looking through the illusion, the fear, you will have misinformation. And we tend to make bad decisions when we have bad information, right? So when I remember my dad was a pit fighting champion. I don't know if you know that, but he was a giant of a man, an incredible role model for me. He got me my first weight set and punching bag when I was 4, and I just fell in love with it. And he never bought me any toys. He only got me things that sharpened me physically, mentally, books, videos, instructors. And one of the things he did is he would bring people in to teach me all these different martial arts. My mom didn't even know about this. She would not have liked this. But so I learned all these different martial arts from a very age. And to this day, because of that, I train every single day. Not because I have to, it's because I love it. And it brings me back to that lion state. It's just another ritual. It's my afternoon and evening ritual. I train in the morning the way you guys do. I do the same workouts as you guys, same type of workouts. And then in the afternoon, I start to, I'm even pushing the limits, things are going on. You can get disconnected and the lamb creeps in there. And so you got to reconnect. And so I use martial arts. And because of these beliefs I developed as a kid, because it put me back in a state of power, of love, of wisdom, of something that was true. And there is a process for doing this. And I bring this up about being around champions and evil people because I've understood the patterns from a very young age of what is this person's intentions. Like, where do they operate from? On a soul level, we are all the same. We are all loving. We're all kind. That's the essence of a human. That's human nature. However, what happens in our childhood and what we focus on each day and what the patterns I'm going to teach you today will determine if they're going to screw you over when life gets tough. And it's not that they're not aware of this. Most people don't intentionally try to harm anyone. It's they get in fear. They see an illusion of something that's not true. They don't feel safe. And then they say, screw everybody else. And so the first step here is everyone is innocent. Because when we say someone is evil, we now did what? We judge them, and we're not looking at them through the eyes of love, the eyes of truth. So you guys are leaders. That's why I mentioned this. And as a leader, we have to see things accurately, but also not be a dumbass, right? So there's something called discernment. Discernment is knowing the truth about the world, knowing the truth about yourself, knowing your core identity, know the core identity of everyone else. Because everything you affirm for yourself that is good, you should also affirm for your brothers and sisters, all of them, no matter who they are or what they've done. That is the highest level of leadership. And then say, okay, where do they stand now? Where do they operate their life from? What is their behavior? What are their beliefs? How do they view the world? What is the lens they view the world? Do they go to anger very quickly? Do they go to sadness and depression? Now you have a business agreement with someone that's frozen in fear and they're not keeping their promises, and now you're losing your ass on the investment and breaking your word, your promise to all the other investors. That's just an example. But it always starts with us. The number one purpose in life is to master thyself. Think about that. To master thyself. In order to master yourself, what do you need? You need to know what lens you're looking through the world. And we all have this soul, this spirit, this lion or lioness. That's your true self. And then we also have this ego or personality. Now, the ego is not totally bad. It allowed you to survive as a child. It's like your inner child. But as you evolve through life, which you are all doing, because you are students, right? We are all students. Every leader is a student. Every great leader is a student anyway. So what do you need to know about that? Well, the lamb is fear. And you got to know when you're there. You have to have a high level of awareness. So if I'm angry about something, I'm like, all right, I ain't going to reply to any clients right now. I'm not going to, give anyone any advice right now. I need to get back home. I need to get back to the lion. And that's why we train in the morning. So I don't reply to anybody until I wake up, I hydrate, and I pray, and I train and summon the lion. Then and only then will I answer any questions. Because I'm a human, I'm not perfect, I mess up, and I don't want to harm anyone, especially if it's just because I didn't have the discipline to call forth that part of me, the real me. And so keep in mind, I'm going to share the patterns. What's the difference between a champion and someone that's just on the team, or someone that's not on any team? So I've worked with 5 fighting champions, world champions. And it's very interesting to see what's different between them and their sparring partners, the people they practice with. And it comes down, they have a process. First of all, their beliefs are different. They do a handful of things that the other ones don't. And that's what we call the way of the lion. Now, the lion is an acronym. So the LION stands for something. And it's the thought process to call forth your highest self and to create the desired outcome. There are 4 steps, obviously. I would challenge you to make this a priority for 30 consecutive days. And you will feel a level of liberation and freedom and fearlessness most will never know. Most will not even think it's possible. And I'm telling you that, and you may have your doubts, but there's no words to describe what this does. And so where do we start? The first step, and most people will not do this. Most people like to wallow in negative emotion. So the L is love-based emotional states. Love-based emotional states are constructive. They generate energy. They're healing. They're powerful. All forms of creation come from love-based emotional states. It may be appreciation, it might be gratitude, it may be joy, it might be passion. It could be any positive emotional state. That's what positive means. It generates energy. Then and only there can you look through the lens of truth. Can you have accurate and useful information? So what creates your emotional state? Really, it's 3 things. How you carry yourself. I don't know if you know this, but I was a pit fighter too, like my father, and I fought for money. That's how I paid for college. And I had really great coaches, and they would always tell me to walk, talk, and speak like you already won, like you're a champion. Now, some people call that arrogant, but you don't have to actually say a lot. You can just walk around like you know you're the champion and that you are going to win because you know who you are, you know your capabilities. Now, this is easy to do when you do the daily work. When you don't do the daily work, when you don't train, when you don't prepare, it's really hard to do that. That is the purpose of training each day, to know that you can always get to your best self. So the way you carry yourself, the way you breathe, the way you move, the way you talk, you want to carry yourself as your best self, as your higher self. And you want to describe this. So take a pen and paper and describe who you are as the lion, as the lioness. Now, that's the first thing that creates your emotional state. The second thing is the stories you tell and believe. What is lion law number 1? This one will change everything. I refuse every story of limitation that I use to justify and rationalize being less than what I'm capable of. You should make that your mantra. You should write that down 100 times every day. That will change your life because we are so influenced by our environment until we take command of who we are and we take command of our emotional states. So the first thing was how you carry yourself. The second thing was the stories you tell and believe will impact how you feel. And the last thing is attention. Where is your focus? Are you focused on what's possible or what's impossible? What you can do or what you can't control? Those are 2 different lives, 2 different worlds. When you take command of your emotional states, when you master your emotional states, everything changes. But that has to happen first before you go into the other steps. So a lot of people try to write down their goals and stuff, but they're not in a state, they're in a state of fear. So it just doesn't feel right. And so something's off. You want to be able to tell the story of victory. And that brings us to the second step. After you cultivate a state of love-based emotion, you summon the lion, the higher self. You now, identify and imagine your desired outcome. What does victory look like? What is your vision of victory? And what is your purpose for attaining it? How will it impact you? How will it impact those you care about? Your team, your employees, your community, the world at large. This is the North Star process in one step, right? The vision, short-term, vision long-term, and the higher purpose for doing this. If your higher purpose is to change your body so you don't hate your reflection, you're going to fail. Because even if you lose the weight or do whatever you want to do, you did it and you fed a belief. You have forged a deeper limiting belief because of your purpose for it. That's why this is so important. So identify and imagine your desired outcome. And when you write this out, when you read it, when you speak it, you are giving a performance as if it's already done. You are giving your victory speech. It should move you. So you're like, is this good? I can't tell you if it's good. Read it. How do you feel? Do you feel like you got this? Do you feel inspired? Then it's good. And it will continue to evolve the more you do it. So love-based emotional state, identify, imagine, desire outcome, then obliterate every story of limitation. I'm going to tell you this day in, day out. I talk to a lot of people. I coach a lot of people, really smart, intelligent people, really successful people. And it's the same things. They're just different circumstances. So you must be aware, have a level of self-awareness and self-honesty, and take full responsibility for everything in your life. And when you start telling a story where you victimize yourself or you demonize someone else or some other thing, you are in the state of the land. You're in a state of fear. We should not tear other people's down. We should state facts. And sometimes those facts are not flattery, right? Sometimes it sounds really bad, but like, this is my perception of what this person did. Now, what can I do to either make this better or support this person? Now that's a leader, right? We don't demonize people. Even if they're demons, you don't demonize them because you can't solve the problem at that level of consciousness. That's a quote, that's a paraphrase quote from Albert Einstein. So obliterate every story of limitation and then end. And this is where a lot of people fall apart. Now is the time. Presence is always the point of power. What does the word power mean? Your ability to take action. That is it. So we must have the wisdom to create the change we want. We need the information. You must have an effective plan. That is what I give you. Then you must care enough to want to do it. That is love. So wisdom, love, and then you must take action. That is power. Love, wisdom, and power. That is the trilogy. So think of this. Now is always the point of power. And this is the question you can ask. You don't have to have a whole massive action plan or anything. Ask yourself, what is the next intelligent step that moves me toward the desired outcome? And maybe sending an email. It might be writing it out again. It may be going back and like, hey, I got a little scared when I started thinking about this. I got the lamb crept in. Let me recenter. Let me summon the lion again. But this is the way of the lion. I challenge you and I invite you to make this a priority in your life. You can choose one area of your life, like your health, because that will always give you feedback. And like just when you're eating, I'm going to be teaching you a lot about nutrition coming up. I'm going to teach you the same way I taught healthcare professionals. But it's going to be simple because there are a handful of principles that apply to all humans. And then I'll teach you how to modify it. So there's a science of nutrition, of fueling the body, and there's the art of living it. But if you don't do the way of the lion, if you're not in a proper state, you're never going to take that wisdom and put it into action. So I invite you to take a pen to paper, listen to this again and again, ask me any questions you have, and say, I'm going to live this process. This is how you think like a champion. This is how you think like a master. And I'm not saying this because I'm so great. I have been blessed to be around people like this. I was never that way. I had to learn this way, and I'm still learning. No one is perfect here. I still make mistakes. And that's a big limiting factor we have with superachievers. We think we have to do everything perfect, and then we feel overwhelmed. We don't feel like we're enough because we're not perfect. Perfection is a lie. It's a myth. It's an illusion. Look into the lens of fear. It's like, I'm not enough unless I'm perfect. That is a huge limiting pattern. These things are going to pop up as you go through the way of the lion. And you go through this process, you are going to identify the stories of limitation, and then you will be able to eviscerate them and be free of that. I'll leave you with that, my friends. Just remember, you were born a lion, not a lamb. You got this.
You tap into the real you, but you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.